All human activity, and possibly every conceivable human concern, is attuned to the utility of some sort of freedom, whatever the scale of it may be. Therefore, freedom is crucial to the nature of art practice and its continuation. One of the papers that informed my view of collaboration and collectivity in general was Isaiah Berlin's Two Concepts of Liberty, in which he describes positive freedom as living within the parameters you have had a hand in creating, thus being an instrument of your own and not another man's creative will. So the desire to be your own master. Negative freedom, on the other hand, is concerned with establishing personal grounds in which no other being or social body or institution can interfere with. To liberate yourself from desires you know you cannot fulfill. In Berlin's terms, that would be killing within myself natural affections so that all is left is no longer subject to empirical fears or desires. So that sort of level of detachment from society is easier said than done, I guess. It's clear that the individual is never really free from forces such as history or time. However, in both of Berlin's accounts of freedom, he emphasizes that we have to decide for ourselves what we can and can't be influenced by. The concern with the individual is central in both of his accounts, and it contributes to the validation of an interpretive history, which seems far more apt in today's society. So what does it mean to make art in common? Some might say that it comprises the value of heretic tendencies within individuals, within the context of what effects these attitudes might have in the progression of art in general. Some others might say that to collaborate is some sort of indescribable compulsion which in function mirrors the very same relationships that comprise our personal life. In turn, that collaboration can display functioning principles of which art is the product and in which it's thoroughly imbued in the method and its nature. So the finishing product of an artwork as collaboration is neither mine nor yours, it's merely ours, and it achieves some sort of status, as which David pointed out before, that wouldn't have been achievable otherwise. So two American artists I kind of made an example of, Jasper Johns and Robert Rauschenberg, are an excellent example of functioning intersubjectivity, both coming from somewhat culturally malnutritioned areas of America's deep south. No exposure to art at all during childhood. Both moved to New York and began to collaborate together in the 50s. Both artists, through dialogue, self-focused acts, were able to make their own sense or discern their own truth out of something they might have at first been inherently at variance with. So their collaborative process was based on close human relationships, dialogue and digression, and by placing emphasis on the importance of acts and acting as modes of mutual acknowledgement and a catalyst for productivity. If the source of most modern art is the true pursuit of self, then what happens to the self once it shares this pursuit with another? On face value, differences give way to a common ground, and this dynamic of group work opposes imposed authority, which is the essential atrophy of all creativity. In turn, you experience the value of personal relationships and what would generally be described as play, and also the status of a product of communal art is ascribed to. You're able to discern your own creative vocation as a contingency in explicit relation to other people. Roles of the viewer and creator become interchangeable in collectivity. Thus, you not only think of the other person, but you actually actively act to create with them in mind. Thus, an illusion of wills takes place. The individual is never really free from forces out with their control, and therefore you presuppose that art and life to a certain extent is based on mutual sets of relationships, and thus you have to conform to certain norms and rules. I think it's the motion towards establishing these conditions that are rightfully interpreted by many as pure acts of freedom. Thank you.